Okay, so the fourth annual Sabbath is on the Feast of Trumpets. Then you have the Day of Atonement. That's another Sabbath. So that makes five. Then you have the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. That's six. And then you have the last great day, which is a Sabbath. That makes seven. We only have seven annual Sabbaths that are commanded by the Most High. Days like Purim and Hanukkah, there are no Sabbaths in those days. You can work. All right. So all of our Sabbaths are given to us. Just go through and read Leviticus chapter 23, and you'll see that the weekly Sabbaths are commanded and the seven annual Sabbaths are commanded. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to look and see in more authoritative sources how the new moon is to be kept. All right, this book is entitled The Temple, Its Ministry and Service by Alfred Edersheim, DD and PhD. You can purchase this book in a hard copy format, or you can get it as a free download through eSword. It gives a lot of information on how things were done during the temple periods, and a lot of scriptural information to back this up. Now, notice chapter 15, it covers the new moons. So let's look in chapter 15 and see what's going on with the new moons. Under this section here, the new moons, I'm going to pick it up here. It says in Psalm 81, as we quoted before, it says, noting how from month to month the day was kept as an outward ordinance, even in the decay of religious life. And they quote Isaiah 1:13 and Hosea 2:11. Apparently, all the more rigidly with abstinence from work, not enjoined in the law. Did you see this? It says, all the more rigidly with abstinence from work, not enjoined in the law, that its spirit was no longer understood. And then they go back to, they mention Amos 8 and 5. And finally learning from the prophecies of Isaiah and Ezekiel that it had also had a higher meaning, which Philo touches on, and was destined to find a better fulfillment in another dispensation when the new moon trumpet should summon all flesh to worship before Yahweh, they have Jehovah, and the closed eastern gate to the inner court of the new temple to be opened once more to believing Israel. And in the New Testament times, we still find the new moon kept as an outward observance by Jews and Judaizing Christians, yet expressly characterized as a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Messiah. And that's Colossians chapter 2. Okay. And just some more to back up that information. So we can see that this is more proof that the new moon was not, or the new moon being kept as a Sabbath is not a part of the law, but something that was made up. Down here in this section where it says a prayer of the 3rd century AD. I'll start here. It says, New Moon's Day, though apparently observed in the time of Amos as a day of rest, Amos 8 and 5, is not so kept by the Jews in our days, nor indeed was abstinence from work enjoined in the divine law. You see that? See, it wasn't, that's not part of the Torah. That was when the northern kingdom, who weren't even worshiping the Most High, who were worshiping the golden calf, El or Baal, they were the ones who enforced abstinence from work. But that was never part of the Torah. So those who are doing that are following in the ways of the northern kingdom, and after those who worship Baal or El. or the golden calf, or the golden heifer. So if you want to be a new moon Sabbath keeper, go ahead. I'll call you a new moon Baal worshiper. Let's go back and explain Amos chapter 8, because this is what many people run to, and it's kind of ridiculous when I hear arguments and people using Amos chapter 8 verse 5 to support this false doctrine, because it shows their ignorance in understanding the book of Amos. They don't know what was going on. You know, it shows that they've been cherry picking scripture just to bring forth a false doctrine. Okay, so let's find out what was taking place during the time and who Amos was prophesying to. In order to do that, we have to go back to chapter 7. That way we can set up a time frame and you can see who Amos was prophesying to. Chapter 7 started verse 9. And the high places of Isaac shall be desolate, and the sanctuaries of Israel shall be laid waste, and I will rise against the house of Jeroboam with the sword. He said he's going to rise against the house of Jeroboam with the sword. And this is Amos chapter 7. And it says, Then Amijah the priest of Bethel sent to Jeroboam king of Israel, saying, Amos has conspired against thee in the midst of the house of Israel, and the land is not able to bear all his words. For thus Amos saith, Jeroboam shall die by the sword, and Israel shall surely be led away captive out of their own land. Also Amijah saith unto Amos, O thou seer, go, flee thee away into the land of Judah, and there eat bread, and prophesy there. So they don't want to hear the prophecy of Amos. You see that? They told him to go back down to Judah and prophesy there. Then answered Amos and said to Amijah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was a herdman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. And Yahweh took me as I followed the flock, and Yahweh said to me, Go prophesy unto my people Israel. Now therefore hear thou the word of Yahweh. Thou sayest, Prophesy not against Israel, and drop not thy word against the house of Isaac. Therefore thus saith Yahweh, Thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of this land. Now it continues on in chapter 8. Okay? He's still speaking in chapter 8. He says, Thus have Yahweh, mighty one, showed unto me, and behold, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what seest thou? And I said, A basket of summer fruit. Then said Yahweh unto me, The end is come upon my people of Israel. I will not again pass by them any more. And the songs of the temple shall be howlings in that day, saith Yahweh mighty one. There shall be many dead bodies in every place. They shall cast them forth with silence. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, even to make the poor of the land to fail, saying, When will the new moon be gone, that we may sell corn, and the Sabbath, that we may set forth wheat, making the ephah small and the shekel great, and falsifying balances by deceit? So do you see that Amos is prophesying against the kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom? And you know how many abominations and how they went off concerning their way of worship? All we have to do is go back and see what was going on during the time of Jeroboam. Now in 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 31. Matter of fact, let's start at verse 28. It says, Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold, thy gods, or thy mighty ones, O Israel, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Now that's pagan, as pagan as all outdoors. Same thing that was done when the children of Israel left Egypt. And he says, and he set the one in Bethel and put the other in Dan. And the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people, which were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month, on the 15th day of the month. What? You see this? He's just doing his own thing. They went off.